Hey everyone, it's Supconnect Live. I'm Kristen Thomas, and we are just telling the audience that we're here and we're started. Supconnect Live, I'm Kristen Thomas, and I'm really lucky to do this. We're here on a Wednesday. It's usually Thursday, but in the US we have a major holiday, Thanksgiving, tomorrow. So we're doing this a little early, and I am going to be talking to someone, again, good sports who will do this at 9 o'clock at night, 8 hours later in the Canary Islands, a place that I have heard so much about but want to learn more and would love to go to someday. Again, remember that if your friends don't catch this, it is recorded immediately, goes to IGTV on Supconnect's Instagram, and then we'll get it on YouTube, both Supconnect's channel and mine, KT Outside. And great to see you guys. Hope everyone is well. I'm certainly feeling grateful for so many things in my life. Doesn't mean it's perfect. We have to remember to say that on social media, but lots of good stuff. And super excited to catch up with Susanne Lier, probably pronouncing it incorrectly. And she is a multilingual sup. Gosh, it's so interesting because I was supposed to talk about their specialty. She is a racer, but she also owns a training center there in the Canary Islands, has been active part of racing for many years in the Euro Tour, and a top female athlete herself, a mom. So I want to talk about all those things. Oh, hello, Peter. Hello, Johnny, Paddle Club. Thanks for tuning in. We love both our regulars. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Let's see if she's right here. And it might be a little dark there. It is only 1 p.m. here in California, but it's
Hi.
late evening.
Yeah.
Yay, it worked. I swear, even after having done over 100 of these, every time there's that moment of, are we going to connect?
Yeah,
Is it going to work out? You look fabulous. I love the hair.
For 9 o'clock in the evening, I'm okay.
I think usually when I see you, we have our hair pulled back because we're racing, we're out paddling, and I don't get to see you all off the water. What a community we have that I probably have only met you a handful of times, but I feel like I know you so well because it's such a friendly, open community, and I feel like, you make a connection with someone and I can send you a message and say,
Look,
hey, let's talk.
This is what I love the most about our community. I mean, I think many people say this about every sport, but I think especially we water sport people, we are a bit differently connected. And I just saw a post from Morgan Hostry, and I have to tell you, I met her so many years ago in Hawaii, and I took my first subway with her. And it's always the same thing. We say with this distance, even not talking to each other, kind of connected because of the same passion. And I really love that. I really, for me, it's like amazing to see these, of course, years running by, but it's cool. It's really nice. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot and yet not a lot. I mean, you have in the last decade since I've known you had a lot of changes in life. Me, not so much. My kids were just leaving the house when I started this, which allowed me in this season of life to really participate a lot more than I could have earlier. But you have really managed to do it all. So we will talk about all those things. But I'm super excited because we connected a little bit about where you live right now. I know. Actually, I don't know. Are you originally from Germany or
I'm a German. I was born in Germany, but recently I got the Swiss nationality too because I lived since 20 years in Switzerland. So I had the opportunity to be a Swiss resident for a long time, and then I could ask for a citizenship, and I did this mainly also for me and my daughter too, because Swiss passport is something super important. And I really love the country, but of course, COVID doesn't make it so easy to be in both sides. And well, at this time and now, I really love being on an island and being happy in the ocean every day. And you see, I'm at 9 o'clock at my second home, my center. So yeah, some things work out on the way you just wanted to go, and you never know really. But as many women, we try something out and we say, okay, maybe it works. And in my case, it worked pretty fine, and we are happy to live here.
Yeah, wonderful. So Canary Islands, a group of islands in Spain, Spanish islands, and I know you speak lots of languages, so I assume it's your Spanish, Spanish, English, French. German, Swiss German,
Yeah, and French.
And
Yeah.
French. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Well, racing, we definitely have to talk about, and you, but you also tell me about being a business owner and a female and you have a training center there in the Canary Islands, tell us a little bit about Canary Islands first. Group of islands. You're not on
No,
Gran
today,
Canaria. You're
as
on a smaller
many
one.
people know now, there's the APP sub competition in Gran Canaria, which is just 2 hours by boat from our island. But Fuerteventura is one of the oldest islands, or from the creation. And yes, we are Spanish territory, but we are a bit far away. So we are actually on the height geographically, like Africa. So we have a really nice climate, and which attracts many people to come here, especially in the winter, to train. So Fuerteventura, I ended up here because at this time in 2013, there were so many European races training here because of the climate. I said, wow, that's a place I should go. And I spent my first winter, like 2 months, and I was training every day and was just so stoked. And I learned so much. Well, my level gets so much better because of the conditions. So it's not anymore flat water, so I have to work really hard. And one of the people was Eric Terrien, which is one of the first European person with Bellar racing in US at this time. And it was super nice to connect with these guys, and then just having a great group of training here, and just, yeah, get out of your comfort zone, I would say to my customers when they arrive here. Yeah.
Yeah. So known for, water and waves. APP just is wrapping up their event. Are they still
I'm
there?
sorry, I didn't follow much the subsurf, but I have to say, as I'm only doing subsurfing with a long sub, I was really happy to see some long subsurfing in the competition. I really like that. So that's...
Yeah. Yes, and we've been talking about that here too. There aren't a lot of subsurfing competitions, but they are really trying to have a shortboarding and a longboarding division because it is very different, and what you do on the waves is different. So I'm not involved in sub competitions for surfing either, but certainly love surfing and enjoy it so much. So you have conditions there, you said. So it's waves, obviously. Islands are known for that. Like you said, even though it's a little bit, off and maybe not a place people know about, for stand-up paddling very early on, there were quite a few of you training there. So it definitely got on the map, Fuerteventura as a place. Ooh, where is that? And I want to go. The closest I've been is Senegal. I had a daughter who lived in Senegal for a while.
It's super easy to travel
far.
actually here, even for people from North America. So I had actually customers from Canada already here, and for them it's like they say, they fly to Madrid, and then from Madrid to the island, which is like 2 flights if you have a good connection flight. But the main thing is here we have such a great climate, so it's also really known for triathlon trainings because they kind of have the kind of training like in Hawaii when they do the Ironman. So here we have a water temperature, I can only say in Celsius, like 19, 20 degrees, which is not cold. And we have even winter month with 25 degrees. So we have always the best conditions to train. We never need a wetsuit for paddling a long distance training in February, for example. So that's really amazing. The sun is strong, huh? So people have to be careful with the sun, but it's...
Yeah. Okay, who wants to go? Because I want to go. So we might have to form a group here and make a trip.
And it's also also an affordable country. So I have to say we have really nice food, local food, and it's Spain. So we are really welcoming, and it's really affordable. So that makes also many people think about spending a week here for training. So that's important.
Oh, sounds absolutely fantastic. And along with waves, how about wind? Is it a good place for downwinders?
It's good and not so good. So it depends the direction. We have some islands where it's a bit better. So I go most of the time. We have some runs, which I share with Esperanza, for example, with a whole group of really good paddlers. And we have days where it's perfect. And we have days, okay, we cannot do what people doing in Hood River, for example. But it's a challenge. So we ended up ocean paddling, and we try to have the most fun of it. I wouldn't sell it as a downwind country, but we have it, so we can do something.
Yeah, no. I think actually, in my opinion, living in Southern California, as much as we'd like to have a consistent downwind place, it's great to have that variety. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's windy and sometimes it isn't. But yeah, I mean, getting on the ocean is, as we've seen, so really essential to sup racing if you want to travel and do a lot of different races. So great to put that together. So when did you first start stand-up paddling and
So
stand-up
first
paddle
time
racing?
I stood on the stand-up paddle about 2010 on the lake in Switzerland. And because I was a surfer and I'm landlocked surfer, so stand-up paddling came on the lake, and I said, wow, that is exactly what I needed. But I was not sure that I was hooked so fast. And racing, I started racing in 2013. So if I continue to race next season, I would do my 10 years. So it's really, really nice to see how many years already passed. But yeah, no, and it's really, really amazing to have this kind of sport that I could call myself a little bit of a pioneer in my sport, because in the countries where I started, were not so many females, and even also in teaching. So it's really nice to see development from day one, and then the first inflatables, then the 12.6 were 28 inches large, and then we tried to get slimmer and say, oh, you show 25? That's really, really slim. And now we are going on 14, 19 inches, something like that. So yeah.
It is wild to have been a part of watching this progression and development. I agree. So 2013, did you start there in Switzerland?
My
or
first
where
race was
your
in
first
Switzerland,
race?
but I really started to travel really fast to go for racing, because also to meet the community. And we had at this time many races in France. So France was next door, so I could go there without problems. And also meeting up first with the former elite, because there were some people coming also from the States, from Australia, I remember. And yeah, that was really nice to start these first things. And then of course you were super excited with all these people. And my best example is that I was sitting, I think when I started really being in the elite, I had a race where I was sitting next, in my heat, I was sitting next to Annabelle Anderson, and I was like, what I'm doing here. And she was so impressive, and I was such a fan. And I saw my heat, I said, no way, I'm sitting with Annabelle Anderson. So it's really cool to see that we have these kind of histories all together.
Yeah, so fun. Yeah. Well, when I saw you, I've seen you since then in Poland, but in Hungary, you kind of made a big decision, as I remember, because you have always been an elite, but you also had maybe aged into a new category that they had there. Tell us about that
Well,
and
the
how it
decision
went.
was not so easy, because you turn 40 and then you say maybe. But I was racing, so 2021, just so you know, it was my first season after motherhood, so after having my baby. And then of course COVID comes, so I took a year more off to just take care of my kid and say, okay, I don't run behind competitions where I'm not. And I took a really big step also in training, because I started to train with Michael Booth. So I really pushed. I had really, really great results during the Euro Tour, where I had racing elite, no master, no nothing. And then we came to the decision where I signed in for Hungary. And I signed in first in elite. And then I had to chat with, of course, Michael. And I said, look, where should I sign in? Because I could do both, but only one. And he said, look,
Yeah,
simple question. Can you
you
make
have
a
to.
medal in elite? And I said, well, I'm not sure, because they are really strong girls. And then, of course, we had a lot of really, really strong girls coming. And then I said, no, but then sign in Masters. And I have to say, signing in Masters, not to make it easier, I had so strong women in my category, and it made me so proud to be one of them. Of course, earning the medals is something, but I didn't have an easy way. Like the sprints and the technicals were not so easy. So it's not like I'm coming from elite and they say, oh, I take it easy to go in 40 plus. No, no, no. And this was also I put a bit more like promotion on this class, because because I won some medals, some people looked at the other ones, was really strong, really close to me, saying, hey, wow, there are also other 40 plus women. They're really strong paddlers. And this makes me still decide to go in this class also in Poland, to push also this category and to motivate more women to go there, because they space for everybody, and
Yeah,
just go for
yeah.
paddle.
Well, I'm proud of your decision, but I can understand how it would be, because you do very well in elite and you can be both. And we have constant conversations about where masters really should begin if you're going to pick one age, because we're not an impact sport. So it's not this, I think we have so many people in their 40s who have proven, who have stayed in the top 10 in both men and women, and especially in the endurance side of it. Yes, super competitive group, but congratulations, you did come out on top, and we're the champion of Masters Women 40 plus. Again, that doesn't mean you wouldn't have done great in elite, but it was a big category, and I think you made the right decision, and it helps females who I want this sport to be 50-50, and we don't have enough women in it. So anytime you can see, wow, there's these really great people, but I could be in that too. And there's, for those of you who don't know, in this World Championship, there's a 50 plus category too. Yeah. And in fact, it's hard for me to always be there working, because I love racing too. And I might think this time of just going, although they don't have a 60 plus, but I'm now in that age division when they have it here in California. But I still love to see how I do against people around the world in my age group, because there aren't a lot of opportunities to do that. Now, one place that you get to do that is Europe. So the Euro Tour has kept going when a lot of things haven't. So Europe is really looked at as the hub for stand-up paddling, I will say right now, if there's one place, because of all the offering. So talk about how that's been, because I don't know when it started, but you've been a part of it pretty much the whole time. And your co-parent, the father of your daughter, is Belar, who runs it still, I think always has, maybe with different partners. So talk a bit about that, just for people who don't know, because I think it's such a great May and June focused way to get around Europe.
So I'm very proud of Belar to put all these years, this whole tour together, and every year it's getting better and bigger and better events and more exciting events, because he tries also to bring some novelties in. For example, now there was last race of the Euro Tour was a river in France, so people just enjoyed something completely different. But I think what's the main thing is also to bring people from other countries to Europe, to these amazing places, racing, meeting the community. And what I always experience, because we get sometimes requests and saying, hey, how can I qualify for the Euro Tour? And he always says, just sign in. Yeah, everybody's welcome. You just decide which distance you want to race. And I think that makes also that we have some races with over 200 people racing. And that's also what we need to grow our sport. And the events, there are many events that are there for years. And of course, some come and some goes because of political stuff or funding or whatever. But I think, as you said, Europe is now the big hub to travel and to race. And it's so easy too, because if you see, like, the tour is already really logically organized. So we are not crossing Europe like this. And of course, with the transport and also with the possibility to rent boards, it's easy to bring people from overseas or from everywhere. So you don't have to hustle with the material. But it's...
Yeah, now that part's huge. I want to stop for a moment, just because being in the US, we need that so desperately. It's really hard for people to get around in this large country. And if we had something like that, like if we can get ourselves lined up a little better, if we can get a business started that wants to transport boards so that they're available like they do for the Euro Tour, it will make a huge difference. But it's good to know. Anybody listening, you can go and be a part of the Euro Tour. You don't have to qualify.
And
it's
just fun, because I see people say, oh, I was standing with Michael Booth on the same, start line. And that actually is it. I mean, it's there's no are you elite and you're amateur, because people sign up for the distance actually and for the fun. But apart from the logistics, I mean, I have to say, not because I admire Bella so much for that, but it's a lot of work. But sometimes people don't see how much work actually logistics are still in Europe, driving from A to B, and sometimes we have to take ferries to go and being on time and everything. But that makes racing so much easier. I remember still racing, traveling with 14-foot or 12-6 board on a plane, crossing Europe. It was just a pain. And you always like this, I say, oh, is my board coming in one piece? And that makes it so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah. We keep hoping it might get easier to travel with, but now most of us have 14s, even those of us who used to have 12.6s. So it is still a challenge, and some airlines do, and sometimes they say yes, sometimes no. So having something set up like Euro Tour is fantastic. So And I understand you have boards there in
I
Canary
show you
Islands too,
just
if anybody wants to
shortly.
visit,
I
right?
mean, it's not like super clean, but look, this
Yeah.
is what we have. Like we
Oh,
have
look at
like
that.
so many boards, and my
Fantastic.
canoes are on the other side, so in another place. So what I offer here is just, I mean, I don't want to say that I'm number one training center, but I have pretty amazing equipment because I always wanted for me, myself, a place like this where I can go, just grab a board, go training. And I really invested time and also money to create that place. And I'm so happy when people come and say, oh, that's so amazing. I can test finally the board I want to purchase, or I was thinking, or the paddle I was trying to try. And so I work with brands, which I'm really convinced. I'm a longtime partner with Sunova and also QuickBlade. So I'm really happy to have their support, but for sure, this is a place for everybody. So we offer a lot of things.
Yeah. So fantastic.
Yeah.
We need more of those places all over the world.
It's a
So
commitment,
if
huh?
you're
It's
out
a
there and you want to
commitment.
start a business, start a trading
It's a
center where you have good
yeah,
equipment.
it's a commitment.
We'd
You have
appreciate it.
to like not be so sensitive that the new race, the boards you just see behind me, they just arrived last week, and I was like, please come in one piece, please come in one piece. So it's it's something when they come and then you unpack them, say, oh, there's no scratches, everything is fine, good, season will be great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so while we're on it and they're right behind you, you pointed them out. Let's talk a little bit about Sunova and the boards that you use. Looks like mostly race boards. They really are beautiful. Do you know much about the construction and are they, I know it's kind of a green
actually,
company.
the company, I mean, my boss is German, so we understand each other on a different base, but they are from Thailand. So they have their company, the factory in Phuket, which is actually nice. They can test the stuff directly. It's a small factory, and the brand is small but growing in a natural way. So I like that. And we really go on quality. So you see the wooden boards, which is really something, you can say every board is kind of unique because this wooden finish is really something unique. And I'm in love with the shapes. I was always looking, I was with a lot of brands, and a lot of brands gave me something. But when I stand the first time on, especially on the blue one behind me, the Allwater, I said, that's the board. I don't need anything anymore. I'm fine. I can use it for everything. I'm not in the trouble. What I bought, I do need today. So that's cool. And also my customers, when they purchase one, they're happy. They say, they are easy to repair and they look just amazing. So, and they glide. It's just amazing shape.
Amazing shape, glide. What more do you want? So the Allwater, that's good to know, is a favorite. Yeah. And it is so interesting how I mean, when I started also, people are on such wide boards and you didn't think we'd ever go narrower. I swore I'd never go under 26 and now I won't. Well, I shouldn't even say it, but unlikely to get to 19 at age 60, but very happily on a 23.
That's already perfect.
Things are going well. More stable and fast. Yeah. Race boards are so much fun. So Sunova, and then a shout out to QuickBlade. I live very near Jimmy, and we talk about those great paddles often.
Well, I'm a trifecta lover, but I may change now to T2. So they came out with this pretty amazing paddle because I was always like, no, please never take off the trifecta from the market, please. So I'm really happy, and I also sell QuickBlade to many of my customers, and they're all really happy. And it's one of the brands I'm paddling since almost day one, and my problem is I cannot paddle anything else. So I'm very addicted, and I have the feeling, and this is kind of nice, and we have a very nice friendship relationship. I'm not so often in California, but I would like to come by once and having a coffee again with Hugo and with Jim. But yeah, it's really great what they do. It's a small company, but constant with high quality equipment, super nice people, and really what we need for the community here too.
Yeah. You mentioned that the factory, quite a few the two main factories, I'll say, where multiple brands are built are in Thailand. And I was excited to see the announcement of ICF being in Thailand, not a typical country for racing, but I think the whole problem of getting boards, I'm hoping, will be less since many of the boards are made in that country or close by in Vietnam. So that's kind of exciting. You mentioned inflatables. I want to talk about that a little bit and how you see How do you feel about that in racing? Where is their place? Europe has always had inflatables, newer in the US, and some people still can't get around the concept. I know, I don't know if you participated, but they have a inflatable race at ICF. Do they have them in a lot of Euro tour events?
Normally we don't really have much inflatable races during the Euro Tour. Depends on the organizer, and also people can compete with any kind of boards in the classes. So of course, I was from the first day from the first day in Europe in SUP, so I saw all these kind of inflatables showing up, and the first ones, of course, they were terrible and they were not gliding and all. But now I have a race board for traveling and for teaching, and I'm actually amazed how really good they are gliding. But of course, Europe, we have not the big, how I say this, the big garages, so, and the big cars, so people take this as a alternative, because most of the time what happened to other people going from hardboard to inflatable, but ours is actually the reverse, to go from inflatable to hardboard, because we need the place in the garage, we need the car, we need the rocks, and that's the big problem in the European market, that people cannot, not for affording, but they have no space to store them or to go easily to the water. So yeah,
we were just talking about that, how it's more typical here to have the space.
Just on top.
Garages are more common and all, but the whole Asian market, supposedly the same thing, that inflatables are necessary if you live in an apartment or don't have the garage or all the extra equipment you need for a hardboard. I've been very impressed too. I've traveled, but I'm not, at the same level elite, so it's not as important. I like to do my best, but I've done quite well taking an inflatable to an island race like St. Croix, and doing 3 races over 3 days and being able to carry it as luggage on the plane. That does make things easier. So it will be interesting to see their place. We finally are seeing a lot more of them, because in the whole COVID thing, when sports equipment was hard to find, stores for a while weren't open, tons of people went online and bought inflatables. So we are finally, for the first time where I live, in a very surf culture area, are seeing a lot more inflatables, and a lot of new people who we hope, we might get some of them, who fall in love with it to make that transfer. So we're talking a lot about inflatable racing, or just like you said, everyone is invited and open. The class is really open. So it's kind of depends on your nature, whether you think you have to be the most competitive from the beginning. I know people who won't race until they have all the right equipment. I mean, they train for a year or 2 before they race. I didn't do that. I trained for 3 weeks, had no idea what I was doing, figured the only way 2010 to find out would be to go to a race. Luckily had one,
No, but look, the thing with I just lately had a discussion with some other brands, and of course Sunova is not going into the inflatable part because they don't need to and they don't want to go there. Many other brands, they create their own inflatable line. But we have in Europe, for example, the discount boards. So the supermarkets were selling inflatable boards. Everybody say, "Oh, I buy it, and then I'm going on the lake." So there are 2 things as a coach. Of course, they don't take classes; they just go. So there's kind of the security factor. But in the end, we have more people on the water, so more people attracted to SUP, and then they will come, and then they will say, "Oh, maybe I get now a better board." So we have these kind of groups, and I always have to say also the discounters, they help us to grow the sport in a different way. Maybe some people will be mad now at me, but seeing more people on the water, and then people say, okay, maybe I pay $500 more and I have a better inflatable, or I buy a hardboard, or I go to sub school and take classes. So that's, and of course, COVID made this whole outdooring, more pushing forward to having the sales. And I think 2021 and 2020, people were just, there were no inflatables anymore to buy. So here in Europe, especially. So,
Well, we still are recovering, and COVID isn't, of course, completely gone, but the crazy market and shipping and so many issues about, like, I'm very happy for you that you got your hardboard.
All seven.
Because we're having so many issues with that type of thing. But you brought up such excellent points that we hope that people will do this safely from the beginning, because it is a water sport and it's essential to be safe. We hope that they will get equipment that's good enough that they love it. That's always my concern about getting the really cheap stuff, is that if it really is just a pool toy, then they'll say, oh, I wasn't good at stand up, or, oh, I didn't like it. So we hope the equipment is good enough that they fall in love with it, like you said. And then, so, you know, if they're having a great experience and we're getting more people out there, it's great. Just hopefully they'll get to a class somewhere. They'll know how and look into how to do it safely. And different countries have different rules too about that. You can actually, I haven't heard of a ticket lately, but you can get one for not wearing a personal flotation
Europe, it's
device
not
or carrying
mandatory,
it on
so
your
we
boat.
have some rules, but in the end, it's like, it's also the same thing. I get many questions. Do you have beginner boards, or you have inflatables to rent? So as I build up my center for training for people, amateur racers, or people who want to go into ocean racing, I didn't build my business here, especially in the Canary Islands, teaching beginner classes, not because I don't want to, because we don't have the conditions. There we have wind, we have waves. It's even for already really good paddlers, sometimes a bit challenging. So I think this has to be really on a place where it's really safe, where people can really enjoy from the first moment, stand up, paddling, and not falling right in the water. So, but yeah, it's a positive way to promote the sport, definitely. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you do SupSurf. Do you try to teach some of that, or
I love
do you just
SupSurfing,
focus
but
on
I'm
the
not a good
training?
teacher in it. So I have my very professional partners here when I have demands, especially on private classes, because we work mainly here on private classes or mini groups. So we don't do the big mass training here. So if people want to learn to SupSurf, it's really, I have the right person in my team. So that's important. You have to delegate stuff. You cannot do everything.
This is very true. Yeah. So speaking of that, how are you balancing? You have the starling daughter who is how old now?
Christmas. She's in preschool now.
Oh,
She's with a uniform every morning going to school. And I say, I love school. And I say, yeah, I love that you love it. No, and it's amazing.
oh my gosh,
We are so proud of her. And also she grew up during COVID, and you have to say she grew up with mask, but she's such an open-minded soul. And you saw her in Poland, like she's talking to everybody, she's going to everybody, she loves it. So, and I'm a working mom, as any other working mom too. We work it out. We have also our support. And Bella is a great dad. She loves him, and he can't wait to put her on a board. So she's just starting to swim. So we took swimming classes. So she loves now swimming, which is amazing. So next step will be on the board with him. So that's his daddy dream, the daddy dream.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since it's almost your 10-year anniversary of paddling, what do you know now? Would you tell yourself something different back in 2013? Or actually, you said 2010 you first tried it.
Yes. Don't stress too much in ride racing, because it doesn't matter. I mean, but this is my personal problem. I always say I put too much pressure on myself every time. Maybe it's where I'm coming from, but it's my personal character. And I always said, like, when I was pregnant, I was racing until 4th month. And I took this year like super easy, and I enjoyed it the most. And I said, look, because there's no pressure, because the pressure came to me. So I would suggest to everybody, women, mostly women, we put too much pressure on ourselves. But I would say go for racing, do the training for fun, and just enjoy the racing. And no matter the results, because that takes so much stress out of you. Because my most successful year was 2021, when I was on the start line. Maybe slept 3 hours, still had the pillow on my face, just breastfeed my kid, went to the start line, and had 1 hour and a half for myself. And that's a total game changer. I don't say to careful, huh? Don't get pregnant and just change your mindset. But for me personally, that changed a lot. And I way enjoyed more racing. So yeah, have fun.
Enjoy it. We hear that a lot. Don't let the stress
maybe in
pile
my
up too
case,
much.
it's my business, but it doesn't pay. Racing is it's not paying off invoices. So even Belar says every time to juniors, finish school, guys.
Yes, which I love seeing. We have some of the top women in the sport are finishing college or in college and managing to do classes and everything, which I think is really fantastic, because it is very hard unless you're at the tippy top. And even then it's so inconsistent still about prize money and everything to try to count on that. So pretty much all of our, even the top of the top, are doing other things with stand-up paddling, like you are doing with the training club there, and doing that as a business. So Canary Islands, Puerto Ventura. I know, that's what I want. Like, anybody listening who wants to go, let's plan a group and let's go see and train there. It would be fantastic. I would love to see the place, enjoy time with you. I know the training would be great in the ocean there. Sounds absolutely fantastic. Might have to do a little Madrid too if we're going to go through
some
Madrid
cultural thing.
Maybe time that. So do you, let's see, there isn't, I know Euro Tour has some branches, like the core kind of, I think, or May and June. But anything on some of the islands? I saw there's something in Greece, and like you said, a river.
But I cannot say much because he will publish the dates soon. So, but yeah, Spanish events are always amazing. So last year we saw so many Spanish events, Mallorca and also Alicante, where so many international races were there, and they enjoyed everything. So I think it's we had a great beach race in Gran Canaria where I was like limited, like I finished the 2 heats and 180 heart rate, but we had so much fun. It was amazing, and this is actually what we need, like traveling to these places, racing with the local community, with other people from Europe, and just having fun, just pushing the sport in the right direction. Yeah.
So if somebody did want to come on their own, because you do a lot of private coaching and all there, how do they contact you?
My contact is on my website or directly via my Instagram. And I have especially weeks where I do camps, so everybody is free to sign in. Special mention to a camp I created 6 years ago called Chica Race Camp. So it's only race camp for women. And I always get comments from guys. So where is the Chico Race Camp? So why no guys? And I wanted to create that camp, and it's been every time a pleasure. Last year I did 2 weeks in a row with so many women. I think I had women from 8 countries in the group, and it's so nice. And my statement is always, there's no competition even. It's a training camp for racing. We grow and we learn together, and we have different levels. We have people from, most of the time, coming from flat water, so they're all in the same pool because they never paddled really on the ocean. And it's great energy. And when I see that these women send me messages, they say, Susie, I was thinking of you when I did the buoy turn or when I did the start. So I kept your things in my mind. And that's actually better than earning money. Like, it's really the reward. And then these women connect and they meet at races and they're racing together. And that's, for me, like exactly what I wanted. Like also the female community is growing in this kind of way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have dates for your Chica camps and other camps? Okay, so your website is, I should have looked it up, but I know they can contact you.
But you can find it on my accounts, so my Instagram accounts. And please feel free to send me emails. And I have to say, I had already a couple of Canadian women in my camps, so it's not so far away not to come here. And it's affordable, and we have really a nice connection. And as I'm multilingual, I can teach almost not in every language, but I can teach in a lot of languages during the camp. And what's also important, I always invite to these camps another female athlete to be my coach. So I think this year I take Esperanza with me, who is already on my island. So we are really good friends and we match in many ways. So that's really fun to have her on board.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic, and she's so nice. Just such an incredible couple.
Such a lovely person. You know, right? I know her from the beginning, so I know her when she was not racing. So I was already racing elite, and then she just come into sub racing, and then wow, she worked so hard. I see her training every day, and I say, I would love to be more time on the water like you, but it's really somebody I admire for many things, and that she's so hardworking also for the goals and for the medals she won. She's definitely one of the female racers I'm looking up to.
Well deserved and good to hear. I've met her and she seems, like you said, absolutely lovely and so kind and with a smile on her face. But And as you said, also just
what's important for me is we have the
fantastic.
same ethic. So we have some racing ethics. Like we have, I don't want to go too much into it, but sometimes racing is not so fair because rules are rules, and there are no written rules, but there's an ethic between females and also male racers. And I think we older, we are a bit more fair and, you know, looking a bit more to this, but sometimes we really can talk about it, like, oh, what happened to you in the race? And yeah, that's not really fair, but yeah, it's like this. So, you know, we can exchange that. So that's really nice.
Yeah, well, so as someone a little bit on the older side who loves fairness, I have to completely agree. We haven't quite worked it out. Sometimes we have rules that aren't enforced. Sometimes we try to enforce them. They're not always the same rules. So I'd love to talk about that. When you're talking with other people about some of the issues around buoy turns or starts or drafting or whatever, have you come to any conclusions, or how do we enforce them, or should there be? What kinds? What's the general feeling in the crowd that you talk to?
I think we just need to be kind to each other. I mean, I see the guys racing; they're fighting on the water, and then after they drink a beer, and sometimes we fight on the water, and we don't talk to each other for a month. So that's a bit female-like. So, but I have to say, starts. This is also what I try to teach most of the time. My workshops or clinics, and also my trainings. There's just a technique, so observation. Whereas, what can I do to be as fast as possible upfront, to not have a shitty start? What happened to me, for example, after so many beach start trainings, and then I said, okay, now I have to go. But drafting, we cannot avoid it. Actually, it's part of the sport. But how to draft, how to change, not to stay too long behind the person, not to communicate, that's a different other way. But we cannot have a group of girls together. So, okay, you switch now, you switch now. This is kind of unwritten rule, I think, ethically wise. So, and then the buoy turns, I mean, I have to say, we don't have many women that are really good on buoy turns. I see always the guys, and I'm always amazed. They say, I want to turn buoys like you do, but you're 20 years younger than me, and I think I can train whatever I want. I had a really great experience with this. Just part of it, I saw Ty Jetson in Gran Canaria. And I was with Espe on the beach. We just finished training, and I saw this kid. Well, it's not a kid, it's a young man. And I love him. He's so cute, and he's so nice. And he was in a beach race, like not really good waves. And he did a move with his legs. And I was looking at Espe, and Espe was looking at me. He said, we will never go there. We will never learn that. It looked like a cat, like walking on the board. And I said, really? Like, how can I learn that? And that's actually also the part when we want to be somebody and be also on the level of elite. When we do elite racing, we just need to be fair and train hard to be good in the starts, working our buoy turns, do our homework, and just like this. So we don't have this discussion why you fall on the board of somebody else at the buoy turn. It can happen every time, but being nice to each other and not bumping the board into somebody or whatever. Yeah. So that's all what I say. And I try to teach ethic in my clinic, especially to the women. And some things, things happen maybe to me. Also, my mistake during all these years of racing. And I always said, if this happened to one of my customers or participants, they would never come back. And so we have to enforce something kind, ethically racing, so that we grow, that people don't get bitter, I would say.
Right. And you talk about unwritten rules and also about communication. And I think those are two. When you get to an international race and you don't all speak the same language, but you really do need to communicate, I think, to draft fairly, because if you're pulling all the time, somebody should be offering behind, or you should be saying it's your turn if you are ready for that. And also, there's an unwritten rule that some don't follow. If you draft someone the entire race, you should not sprint by them.
Some people didn't get the message yet, though.
Yards, some did. But that's one of those unwritten ethical things. It's like, okay, that wasn't really fair that, you never took a turn. But anyway, there's some interesting things like that we still need to work out. And how do we, because I get to train in a training group, so many people don't. I do get to work on talking together, because it's to everyone's benefit. If you work it out and the three of you turn together instead of fighting about that, you're all going to have a better result if you all can get around. And also that there's multiple ways to go around. I sometimes, especially at my age, avoid the chaos, and I can go around a mess at the buoy. And maybe I went a few meters farther.
I always say paddle where there's water. On my board, there's no water, so don't paddle on top of my board. But we have some people, like I have to say, I don't really like drafting, but of course it's big part of everything, and I need to do it to as everybody else for the 20% of energy we actually do. But training drafting is hard work, so I have to choose as a racer, am I capable to draft her? Esperanza, I cannot draft for the whole race, no way, and I know, so I will not try it. So I will be in the red zone after 2Ks, and I will go home. So this is also where you have to be really smart. And of course, sometimes we find ourselves in draft trains, they are too slow. So I have to take my own decision. Do I go out now or not? That's a bit the thing why, for example, for me, racing is the best training, because these kind of situation, you never train at home if you don't have a racing group with different levels. Yeah. But this is also where you have to work mentally with yourself. And I have been plenty of times in that. And Bella always said to me, you're a bad drafter. You have to train more. And I say, yeah, I know, but I really don't like it. But of course, we have to have a group of people. And there's also people ask me all the time, so you are so many pros here and you train together. Yes and no, because Esperanza has a different training plan than me. But if we are downwinding, if we do beach racing, if we do buoy turns or beach starts, something up, we connect to say, hey, let's do this today. This is more fun together. And we do it. And of course, there's a bit of competition. Of course, it's nice. But in the end, like
you said, healthy competition, but we all need to be able to be competitive on the water and get off and take a deep breath and be okay.
There was a nice saying. I don't know where I read this one day, but they say you cannot avoid that people are better than you. This is something is out of your control. You can do whatever you can. At one point you arrived at me at 42. Of course, I know at one day I will arrive at of my top level, which I already have. And then I have tiny adjustments, but I have to be honest with myself. I say, with my life I have as a mom and a business owner, I cannot train 24 hours and getting way better. No, so it's also what people have to be more honest with themselves, and then don't be frustrated in racing and putting this frustration to other people.
Well, and I think that honesty with yourself is smart, but I am going to say that this sport being strength limiting and seasons of life, don't say you're at the top. It's also a sport where we haven't perfected everything and are still innovating in terms of equipment and technique and everything. So you never know. I love seeing like Lina Agaitis was back after 2 babies.
Perfect.
Looking really strong. And I recently, I think as a mom, although it was a long time ago, I think it just makes you stronger, especially in endurance sports.
No, and as a mom, I said, your mom too, after birth, everything is easy. After giving birth, everything is like, okay, next. Okay.
Now I can
what's
do anything.
Next?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Well, so great to catch up with you. Love everything that you're doing there. And again, I'm serious. I want to go. So who wants to go with me? Let's get to one of these training camps. Happy to bring a group if you want somebody to help you with travel.
We have the equipment. We have the equipment. Just bring the luggage and bring some happy people, and then we have the best time here ever. I'm super happy to be in this whole community and connect also with so many female racers and try to push the sport in the good direction. And I have one of my best friends and also the most lovely people I met because of SUP. So I'm very grateful that this sport entered in my life so early, and that I can actually make my life also financially, I can live with that. So that's the saying.
Absolutely fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate the time, Susie.
Yes.
And hope to see you soon.
Thanks to everybody. Thanks for the nice messages.
She wants to go.
Read them because they're so fast, but so nice.
I know. Well, got lots of fans and a couple people. Samantha Rutt from UK. Sounds like she's been to your camp before, so that's fantastic. Let's get some more people down there. I love it, VJ.
Can't wait, guys.
Let's go. Work on drafting in the ocean.
Drafting in the ocean is next level, but it's possible. But we still
Yeah.
try to, what I'm saying always to my customers, that they figure out that the wind is not the enemy and the waves. It's just they try to work with it. So
No, the water, isn't it amazing? And now, like, the more time I spend on it, the more I'm fascinated with every little ripple can help you. You know, you really, you know, tides and winds and everything, and the
it's
combination
almost
is ever
scientifically,
changing. It
because
makes it
normally
so.
I wake up in the morning, I look at my we have webcams here, so I can just see the bay, and I say, wow, but this is not connecting with what I have on my app, like wind app. So there's actually nice that you have every day everything, and I'm very lucky person to call this my home, and to be able to use all these nice toys behind me every day, and being also on the outrigger canoe, being on prone, not that often because it's really hard, but I use it as a cross training. And I forbid Micah to send me trainings for proning, because I know that the Australians are a bit crazy. One day he sent me a message. He said, "Oh, I see you do a lot of prone." I
Yeah.
said, "Don't you dare send me trainings for prone." I'm not going there, but it's really nice for cross training. Yeah.
Yeah, cross training is great, and anything to be on the water. That's great that you enjoy OC and prone, but that's funny. Morgan Hoistre would be very proud of you. I'm lucky to live near her. I actually took during COVID, she was able to offer in water training and breath hold,
I
and
have to bring
did
her.
free
I have
diving
to
with
bring her.
her.
I still,
Another thing that
I tell you, I had my first subwave
yes,
in Haleva with her, and I was so stoked. I think 2013 was for me like the revelation of SUP, and I was so stoked. And I say, wow, that's the best experience ever. And then everything went straight up. Yeah.
that's great. Well, I hope it continues to go up. Enjoy next month and your daughter's 3rd birthday and Christmas and the holidays in your beautiful, warm location where you still get to keep training, which is fantastic.
Thanks, Christina.
Really enjoyed talking with
Thanks
you,
for
and
reaching out.
hope to see you
Yeah.
sometime in 20.
See you soon, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, everybody, this does get recorded, so if anybody missed it, we talked about some great stuff, and she shared all kinds of great ideas and thoughts. And there's her beautiful setup there. In so you're actually in
Fuerteventura.
Say again, Tenerife, Fuerteventura. Okay, got it. Look that up on a map. Off of Africa, Spanish area.
Thanks. Huh?
Thanks
Bye,
so much.
guys.
Take
Thanks.
care,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot.
Be well.